Well, good evening, YouTube, and welcome to the 6 p.m. service here at God's Word Ministries. Now, just like last week, what I promised you, I said that we would be getting started on the book of Exodus, and that's what we're going to be doing tonight. And by the look of it, Exodus is a rather thick book, but not too thick. So we're going to be doing this for a couple weeks. We're going to be doing at least maybe 2 to 3 chapters, and asking questions, giving answers, that sort of thing. Now, before I get into it, I think that everybody was taught in Bible school about Moses and the burning bush, and how he went up on the mountain, and the Ten Commandments was inscribed in stone by God's hand, and that how Passover came to be, the children of Israel crossing over the Red Sea from the slave-ridden land of Egypt into the Promised Land. Well, we're going to start in chapter 1, of course, but it starts with all the names of the children of Israel. So a lot of these names are kind of hard to pronounce. So if I mispronounce them or I just go over them, just bear with me on that. Let me take off my hat. It's not appropriate to wear when I'm trying to preach. But and please ignore my aging bald spot, because it's there.
Yep. Oh, I've seen it.
Okay, if you will turn to Exodus chapter 1, verse 1, and we'll go from there. Now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob: Reuben, Simon, Levi, Jeduye, or something. Issachar, I'm sorry, Dan, and Asher. I'll shorten up on the names because I can't even get through half of them. And the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls. For Joseph was in Egypt already. And as Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all the generation, and the children of Israel were fruitful, and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceedingly mightily, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph, and he said to his people, "Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out of it any war, they join also unto our enemies, and fight against us, and so get them up and out of the land." Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasured cities, Pharaoh and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel serve with regard. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage and mortar and brick and in all manner service in the field of their service were made them service with rigor. I think that's what that says. And the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrews midwives, of which name of one was Sifra, and the name of the other Purah, I guess. And he said, when ye do the office of the midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be the son, then he shall kill him. But if it be daughter, they shall live. But the midwives feared God and did not, as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men, children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have ye done this thing, and have served the men, children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and are delivered. The midwives come unto them. Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mightily. And when it came to pass, because the midwives feared God, that he made them houses. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born ye shall cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive. Now, that's just chapter 1. That's showing you right there. And I'm sorry when I had my head down like this, but my eyes are so bad I practically got to have my eyeballs glued to the book. But I mean, it's like right off the bat, it's telling you exactly the conditions that the children of Israel were facing, and that Egypt feared them because there was more of them and less of the Egyptians, and the Egyptians feared that the Israelites were going to rise up against them, join their enemies, and go against them. Yes.
When you tell people, or when you preach to the children of Egypt, people might think you're only talking about the kids of Egypt, or children of Israel.
When I talk about the children of Israel, they are spoken about the children of Israel. That means men, women, and children. Everybody. We're all children of God, so they are the children of Israel. Hold on just a minute here, buddy. I gotta let my dog in. What's that? Sorry about that. But, so when we read Exodus, it's going to get more and more and more to where we also learn how God hardened Pharaoh's heart. And we'll get into that later on, but we're going to read all the way up to chapter 3, and then we're going to do questions, and then we'll go from there. So let's go from chapter 2 to verse 7. Chapter 2, Exodus chapter 2, verse 7. And there went hold on, I lost my place. And there went a man out of the house of Levi, and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw that he was a godly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took him in an ark of bushels and doubled it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and laid it in the flags by the riverbank. And his sister stood far off to what would be done with him. And the daughter of the Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, a babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, this is one of the Hebrew children. Then said his sisters to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go to call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse this child for thee? So, I'll tell you what, let's go down to verse 10.
Okay, you confused me. You started with verse 1, you said verse 7, so I'm lost where you're at.
Yeah, I'm on 8.
Okay.
And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took thy child and nursed it. Well, now to verse 10. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses. And she said, because I drew him out of the water. Now, let's stop here at verse 11. We've all heard this story of how Pharaoh's queen, or daughter, I get confused sometimes, but had found her at the river bank, and the Hebrew women nursed him. Sorry, I'm just not myself today. And had nursed him, brought him back to her. Then she had said, this is my son. This is Moses, for I have drawn him out of the water. Now, and throughout the book, we'll see how Moses grows, how he becomes a prince of Egypt, how he slays an Egyptian, how he finds his roots and knows that he is not really an Egyptian, but he is a
Hebrew.
a Hebrew, right? And then it's at that time when Moses starts hearing God in the mountains, and you know, there's been a lot of talk about where Mount Sinai is. Well, in today's geography, it would be in Saudi Arabia. And it is very, 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 very hard for anybody to get into that country, unless you got a signed document from the royal family of that country that will allow you entry into the country. But they've got that whole mountain completely fenced off, and I mean, because what you understand is that Moses and the children of Israel camped there, and their original camp is still there to this day. If you look at the top peak of Mount Sinai, it's all burnt, it's black. That's where God had stepped on that mountain, and the whole top of that peak of that mountain caught on fire. And it's where the 10 Commandments was inscribed in stone. This is the same place where Moses took the 10 Commandments down and smashed them on the ground because the children of Israel were living in absolute sin. They had built a golden calf. And it's at that time when those who were participating in it basically reaped what they sowed. And after that, that's when the ark of the calf was melted down, a box was built, outlaced with gold, and Moses had to make law with the Lord again, and those 10 Commandments was put into the ark, which was the Ark of the Covenant. I'm giving you things I'm going to be going on and on throughout the week. This is going to be a pretty good study process, but I don't want to spend the whole time doing it with my head buried in the book. But if I would ask you, I would say, okay, well, when I ask you about Exodus, what sticks out the most? I mean, you don't even have to think. I say, okay, when you read the book of Exodus, or when you hear that word, what do you think? Now, me being a joker all the time, somebody would say, okay, well, what do you think about Exodus? And I'd be like, exit. Because mainly Exodus, that's really what it symbolizes. It is they're exiting out of Egypt and entering into the Promised Land, yes.
Well, I think Exodus, I think the first 5 books of the Bible.
There you go. Thank you. So, unfortunately, today's teaching is going to be short because I'm having problems with my Wi-Fi. I'm having problems with my printer and everything else, and I haven't had time to type it up or anything else. But I would like to throw some announcements at you, though. We still got the giveaway going on with the Bibles sitting over here. And we got a fun-filled family event coming in June. God's Word Ministries is hosting its first ever summertime fun bash in the park. And, well, it's still in the making right now. I'm not going to tell you what park, and then we change our minds and it be somewhere else. I'll keep everybody informed on where it's at, the date, the time, and things like that. But we will have hamburgers, hot dogs, potato salad, all kinds of good food, games, things for the kids to do, things for the other adults to do. We're gonna have door prizes at the end of the day. When you come in, you'll be asked to sign your name. And then when you sign your name, you'll be given a ticket. Hold on to that ticket the whole time you're there. And then what we do, me and my wife, we will be drawing tickets out of a bowl for for prizes to be handed out in the end. So it's going to be a fun event, and it's something that I feel strongly that the Lord God wants us to take part in, wants us to host, and it's a good way to show people in this community and other neighboring communities, you know, that we are a church and what we're about. So I'm going to stop here. We're going to pick up, and we left off in chapter 8.
Chapter 2, verse 11.
We left off in chapter 2, verse 11. So I am going to go ahead and read until we get to chapter 3. That way, next week we can pick up on 3. Okay. Starting in verse 11, it came to pass in those days when Moses was growing, that he went out unto his brethren and looked unto their burdens, and he smited it in the Egyptian, smiting in Hebrew one of his brethren, and he looked this way and that way. And when he saw there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strolled together and said to him that did the wrong, wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? And he said, who made thee a prince and judge over us, instead thou to kill me, and thou killest the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known. Now, when Pharaoh heard of this thing, he sought to slay Moses, but Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. And he had sat down by a well. And the priest of the Midian had 7 daughters, and they came to draw water, and filled troughs of water for their fathers, to draw troughs of water, their father's flock. And the shepherds came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. And when they came to Reuel, their father, he said, how